Ethan Carter had always been good at blending in. As the CEO of Horizon Freight, he knew how to read people, adapt to situations, and stay calm under pressure. But this time, it was different. This wasn't just another business meeting or presentation. He was about to step into the shoes of someone else entirely, a new employee named Nick Harper. It all started when Ethan heard whispers during a board meeting. Someone mentioned strange activities happening at one of their busiest loading docks. At first, he dismissed it as idle gossip. After all, running a logistics company meant dealing with rumors every now and then. But something about the tone of the conversation stuck with him. It felt urgent, almost desperate. That's when he decided to take matters into his own hands. Next morning, Ethan found himself standing outside the loading dock, dressed in simple work clothes. His usual tailored suits were replaced by a pair of worn jeans, sturdy boots, and a plain blue uniform shirt. A cap covered his neatly styled hair, and a fake ID badge hung loosely around his neck. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. For the first time in years, he felt like an outsider looking in. As he approached the entrance, a young woman greeted him with a warm smile. Her name tag read, Lisa Morgan. She looked tired but determined, her dark hair pulled back into a loose ponytail. "Hi there," she said, extending her hand. "You must be Nick. Welcome to the team." Ethan shook her hand firmly, careful not to reveal any hint of nervousness. "Thanks," he replied, keeping his voice steady. "I'm ready to get started." Lisa nodded and began walking him through the basics. She explained the layout of the loading dock, pointing out where shipments were sorted, loaded onto trucks, and sent off to various destinations. The place buzzed with activity, forklifts zipping back and forth, workers shouting instructions, and the constant hum of machinery filling the air. To anyone else, it might have seemed chaotic, but Lisa moved through it all with practiced ease. "You'll mostly be helping us unload incoming shipments," she said, handing him a pair of gloves. "Just follow my lead, and you'll do fine." Ethan nodded again, slipping the gloves onto his hands. He noticed that Lisa spoke quickly, as if she didn't have much time to waste. He could tell she was juggling multiple responsibilities, her eyes darting between the workers and the clock on the wall. As they walked deeper into the facility, Ethan spotted a man standing near a large stack of crates. He was taller than most of the other workers, with broad shoulders and a commanding presence. His name tag identified him as Ryan Brooks, the team leader. Unlike Lisa, who seemed approachable and friendly, Ryan gave off an air of authority that bordered on intimidation. "This is Ryan," Lisa said, gesturing toward him. "He's in charge here, so if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask him." Ryan glanced up briefly, sizing Ethan up with a quick once-over. There was something unsettling about the way he stared. Not quite hostile, but definitely wary. "Nick, huh?" Ryan said, his voice low and gravelly. "We're short-staffed, so I hope you can keep up." "I'll do my best," Ethan replied, forcing a confident smile. For the rest of the day, Ethan focused on learning the ropes. He helped unload trucks, sort packages, and organize inventory. It was hard physical labor, far removed from the comfort of his office chair, but he welcomed the challenge. Each task gave him a chance to observe the dynamics among the workers, especially Ryan. What struck Ethan most was how often Ryan disappeared into a restricted area near the back of the warehouse. The door was clearly marked with a "No Entry" sign, yet Ryan entered without hesitation whenever he pleased. None of the other workers seemed to question it, though some exchanged uneasy glances when he returned. During a short break, Ethan sat down beside Lisa, who was sipping coffee from a thermos. She looked exhausted, dark circles visible under her eyes. "How long have you worked here?" Ethan asked casually, hoping to build rapport. "Almost 5 years," she replied with a sigh. "It's tough, but someone has to keep things running smoothly." Ethan nodded sympathetically. "Seems like Ryan keeps everyone on their toes." Lisa hesitated for a moment before responding. "He's efficient," she said carefully. "But sometimes I feel like he doesn't trust us. Like we're being watched all the time." Her words intrigued Ethan. Was Ryan hiding something? Or was Lisa simply stressed from the demanding workload? Either way, Ethan made a mental note to pay closer attention to Ryan's movements. Later that evening, as the shift wound down, Ethan stayed behind to clean up some tools. He waited until the coast was clear before sneaking toward the restricted door. His heart pounded in his chest as he peered inside, careful not to make a sound. What he saw left him stunned. Stacked against the far wall were several large containers, each marked with cryptic symbols instead of clear labels. They looked heavy, possibly filled with liquid or powder. Ethan's mind raced with possibilities. Were these hazardous materials? Illegal goods? Whatever they were, they didn't belong in a standard logistics operation. He snapped a few photos with his phone, knowing he needed proof before jumping to conclusions. Just as he turned to leave, he heard footsteps approaching. Panicking, Ethan ducked behind a nearby crate, holding his breath. The door creaked open and Ryan stepped inside. Ethan watched silently as Ryan inspected the containers, muttering to himself. Though he couldn't hear everything, one phrase stood out: "Can't afford any mistakes." When Ryan finally left, Ethan exhaled sharply, realizing he'd been holding his breath the entire time. He slipped out unnoticed and headed home, his mind swirling with questions. What exactly was going on at this loading dock? And what role did Ryan play in it? That night, as Ethan lay in bed, he replayed the events of the day in his mind. He hadn't expected to uncover anything so soon, but the discovery only fueled his determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to dig deeper. For now, he resolved to keep his cover intact and gather as much evidence as possible. Little did he know his journey was just beginning. The next day, Ethan woke up earlier than usual. His mind was racing with thoughts about what he had seen the previous night. Those strange containers in the restricted area. What were they? Why would Ryan need to check on them so carefully? And why did everything feel so secretive? As he drove back to the loading dock, Ethan reminded himself to stay calm and focused. He couldn't afford to let his curiosity get the better of him. If Ryan or anyone else suspected that he was snooping around, it could ruin everything. When Ethan arrived, Lisa greeted him with her usual warm smile. She handed him a clipboard with instructions for the day's tasks. "We've got a big shipment coming in this morning," she said. "You'll be helping us unload some heavy crates." Ethan nodded, grateful for the distraction. Keeping busy would help him blend in and avoid drawing attention to himself. As he worked alongside the other employees, he tried to listen closely to their conversations. Most of them talked about mundane things like weekend plans or sports, games, but every now and then someone would mention Ryan, or rather complain about him. "He's always watching us," one worker muttered during a quick break. "It's like he doesn't trust anyone." Another worker chimed in, lowering his voice. "I heard he got promoted because he knows how to get results, whatever that means." Ethan didn't say anything, but he made a mental note of the comments. Clearly, Ryan wasn't popular among the team. But was that just because he was strict, or was there something more going on? Later that afternoon, Ethan found himself working near the restricted area again. This time he noticed that Ryan seemed even more agitated than usual. He kept glancing at his watch and pacing back and forth as if waiting for something or someone. During a lull in the work, Ethan decided to test the waters. He approached Lisa, who was organizing paperwork at a nearby desk. "Hey, can I ask you something?" he said casually. Lisa looked up, surprised. "Sure, what's up?" "I was wondering about that restricted area over there," Ethan said, nodding toward the door. "What's inside? It seems pretty off limits." Lisa hesitated, glancing around, to make sure no one was listening. Then she leaned closer and whispered, "Honestly, I don't know. None of us are allowed to go in there. Ryan says it's for special shipments, but nobody really believes him." Her words confirmed Ethan's suspicions. Something wasn't right about those containers, and Ryan was definitely involved. That evening, after most of the workers had gone home, Ethan stayed late to clean up. He wanted to investigate further without raising suspicion. As he tidied up tools near the restricted area, he heard voices coming from inside. One of them belonged to Ryan, but the other was unfamiliar. Deep, gravelly tone that sent chills down Ethan's spine. Curiosity got the better of him. Carefully, he crept closer to the door, pressing his ear against it to hear better. "You're cutting it too close," the unknown voice growled. "If anyone finds out about this, we're all dead." Ryan's response was quieter, but Ethan could still make out a few words. "Relax, everything's under control. Just stick to the schedule and we won't have any problems." Ethan's heart raced. Who was Ryan talking to? And what exactly were they hiding? He needed answers, but getting caught eavesdropping wasn't an option. Slowly, he backed away from the door and returned to his cleaning duties, pretending nothing had happened. The next morning, Ethan arrived early, hoping to catch Ryan alone. To his surprise, Lisa was already there, sipping coffee and staring blankly at a stack of papers. She looked troubled, her brow furrowed in thought. "Morning," Ethan said softly, not wanting to startle her. Lisa jumped slightly, then smiled weakly. "Oh, hey, Nick, didn't see you there." "You okay?" Ethan asked, sensing her unease. She sighed, setting her cup down. "Just tired, I guess. This job wears me out sometimes." Ethan nodded sympathetically. "Yeah, it's tough work, but you seem like you're handling it well." Lisa gave him a small smile. "Thanks. Honestly, though, it's not just the workload. Sometimes I feel like there's something wrong here, like we're being lied to." Her honesty caught Ethan off guard. He debated whether to probe further, but decided to tread carefully. "What do you mean?" She glanced around nervously before continuing. "It's hard to explain. Things don't add up. Shipments come in late at night marked with weird labels. People quit suddenly, saying they don't feel safe. And Ryan..." She trailed off, shaking her head. "He's hiding something. I'm sure of it." Ethan felt a surge of hope. Maybe Lisa could be an ally, but he couldn't reveal his true identity yet, not until he had concrete evidence. Instead, he offered her a reassuring smile. "If you ever want to talk more, I'm here." For the rest of the week, Ethan kept a close eye on Ryan and the restricted area. Every chance he got, he tried to gather information. He took photos of the containers when no one was looking, jotting down notes about their markings and sizes. He also paid attention to the timing of shipments, noticing that many of them arrived late at night, long after most workers had left. One evening, as Ethan prepared to leave, he overheard Ryan arguing with another worker. The conversation was heated, filled with accusations and threats. Ethan couldn't catch every word, but one sentence stood out. "If you breathe a word of this to anyone, you'll regret it." The threat lingered in Ethan's mind as he drove home. Whoever Ryan was working with, they weren't playing games. If Ethan wasn't careful, he could put himself and others in serious danger. Despite the risks, Ethan knew he couldn't give up. The more he uncovered, the clearer it became that something illegal was happening at the loading dock. Whether it was smuggling, toxic waste disposal, or something even worse, it had to be stopped. That night, Ethan sat at his kitchen table, reviewing the photos and notes he had collected. He stared at the images of the containers, searching for clues. One label caught his eye. It was partially obscured, but he could make out the letters H3, followed by a series of numbers. A quick online search revealed alarming information. The label matched codes used for hazardous chemicals, specifically ones banned for commercial use due to their toxicity. Ethan's stomach churned as he realized the implications. These substances were dangerous, not just to the environment, but to human health. If mishandled, they could cause catastrophic damage. With newfound determination, Ethan vowed to dig deeper. He needed proof beyond doubt, something that would convince not only himself, but also the authorities. But first, he had to figure out who Ryan was working with and why. As he closed his laptop and turned off the lights, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he was running out of time. Whatever Ryan and his mysterious partner were planning, it was bound to happen soon. And when it did, Ethan had to be ready. Little did he know, the next few days would bring unexpected challenges and revelations that would change everything. The days that followed were a blur of hard work, careful observation, and mounting tension. Ethan continued to play his role as Nick Harper, blending in with the team while secretly gathering evidence about Ryan and the mysterious chemicals. But as he dug deeper, he realized he couldn't do it alone. He needed help, and Lisa seemed like the perfect person to trust. Ethan had noticed how Lisa often stayed late, poring over inventory reports and shipment logs. She was meticulous, almost obsessive, about keeping track of every detail. One evening, after most of the workers had gone home, Ethan approached her as she sat at her desk, surrounded by piles of paperwork. "Hey, Lisa," he said softly, pulling up a chair beside her. "Mind if I join you?" She looked up, startled but not unwelcoming. "Oh, hey, Nick, sure, go ahead." For a moment they sat in silence, the only sound coming from the hum of the overhead lights and the occasional creak of the building settling. Then Ethan spoke again, choosing his words carefully. "You mentioned before that things don't add up here," he said. "I've been thinking about what you said and, well, I think you're right." Lisa's eyes widened slightly, and she glanced around nervously. "What do you mean?" Ethan leaned closer, lowering his voice. "I've noticed some weird stuff too. Late-night shipments, unmarked containers, Ryan acting all secretive. It doesn't feel right." Lisa hesitated, biting her lip. "You're not the first one to say something like that," she admitted. "But no one ever does anything about it. People are scared. They just keep their heads down and hope nothing happens." "Well, maybe it's time someone did something," Ethan replied firmly. "But I can't do it alone. Will you help me?" Lisa stared at him, torn between fear and determination. Finally, she nodded slowly. "Okay, but we have to be careful. If Ryan finds out—" "He won't," Ethan assured her. "Not if we're smart about it." Over the next few days, Ethan and Lisa worked together to piece together clues. They compared notes on shipment schedules, cross-referenced inventory lists, and documented any inconsistencies they found. Lisa shared her observations about Ryan's behavior, while Ethan provided photos and descriptions of the containers in the restricted area. Their partnership gave Ethan a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time since starting his undercover mission, he felt like he wasn't alone. Lisa's dedication and courage inspired him, even though he still wrestled with guilt over keeping his true identity hidden. He knew he'd have to tell her eventually, but not yet. Not until they had enough evidence to expose the truth. Meanwhile, Ryan grew increasingly suspicious of Ethan. He started showing up unexpectedly during Ethan's shifts, asking pointed questions about his progress or scrutinizing his work. Once, when Ethan accidentally dropped a box, Ryan stormed over, glaring at him. "What's wrong with you?" Ryan snapped. "Be more careful. We don't need any mistakes." "Sorry," Ethan muttered, forcing himself to stay calm. "Won't happen again." But inside, his nerves were on edge. Every interaction with Ryan felt like walking a tightrope. One wrong move and everything could come crashing down. One night, as Ethan and Lisa reviewed their findings in a quiet corner of the warehouse, they stumbled upon something shocking. Buried deep within the inventory records was a list of shipments labeled with unfamiliar codes. When Ethan cross-referenced these codes with his earlier research, he discovered they matched known identifiers for banned hazardous chemicals. "This is bad," Lisa whispered, her hands trembling as she flipped through the pages. "If anyone finds out we're handling this stuff, we'll be in so much trouble." "It's worse than that," Ethan said grimly. "These chemicals aren't just illegal, they're dangerous. If they leak or get into the wrong hands, people could get hurt, or worse." Lisa looked at him, her expression a mix of fear and resolve. "Then we have to stop it." "But how?" Ethan thought for a moment, then pulled out his phone. "I know someone who might be able to help. An old friend, he works for the FBI. Lisa's eyes widened. "Are you serious? You're going to involve the authorities?" "It's the only way," Ethan said. "But we need more proof first. Solid evidence that ties Ryan to these shipments." They spent the rest of the night brainstorming ways to gather that evidence. By morning, they had a plan. But executing, it wouldn't be easy. The next day, Ethan deliberately slowed down his work, hoping to draw Ryan's attention. Sure enough, Ryan appeared beside him, arms crossed and scowling. "What's taking so long?" Ryan demanded. "You're falling behind." Just double-checking everything, Ethan replied casually. Don't want to make any mistakes. Ryan studied him for a moment, then smirked. Good. Mistakes cost money and jobs. As Ryan walked away, Ethan exhaled sharply. The comment felt like a veiled threat, but it also confirmed his suspicions. Ryan was hiding something big, and he didn't want anyone getting too close. Later that evening, Ethan and Lisa put their plan into action. Using Lisa's access to the inventory system, they created a fake shipment report listing several of the suspicious containers as damaged. According to the report, the chemicals inside had leaked, posing an immediate safety hazard. We'll stage an accident, Ethan explained. Make it look real enough to draw attention without actually causing harm. Lisa nodded, though her hands shook as she typed the final details into the system. Let's hope this works. Early the next morning, chaos erupted at the loading dock. Workers rushed to contain the spill, shouting warnings and cordoning off the affected area. As expected, Ryan arrived on the scene furious. What happened here? He barked, scanning the crowd for answers. It's bad, Lisa said, feigning panic. Some of the containers are leaking. We don't know what's inside, but it smells toxic. Ryan's face turned pale, and for the first time, Ethan saw a crack in his confident facade. Who authorized this? He demanded, his voice rising. No one, Ethan chimed in, playing dumb. It just happened. Shouldn't we call corporate or something? Ryan hesitated, clearly torn between anger and fear. Before he could respond, Lisa stepped forward, holding up the fake report. I already sent it to headquarters. They're sending inspectors. Ethan watched as Ryan clenched his fists, visibly struggling to maintain control. For a brief moment, Ethan wondered if Ryan might try to retaliate, but instead he stormed off, muttering under his breath. By midday, corporate executives had descended upon the loading dock, accompanied by health and safety officials. The entire facility was shut down pending an investigation, and workers were questioned individually about the incident. Amidst the commotion, Ethan pulled Lisa aside. This is our chance, he said. We need to show them everything we've found. Lisa nodded, though tears welled up in her eyes. Promise me one thing, she said quietly. When this is over, tell me the truth about who you really are. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. I will. I promise. Together, they handed over their evidence to the investigators, including photos, documents, and detailed accounts of Ryan's suspicious behavior. As the gravity of the situation sank in, both Ethan and Lisa braced themselves for what came next. Little did they know, the fallout would be far greater and more personal than either of them anticipated. The investigation into the loading dock incident moved quickly. Corporate executives and safety inspectors swarmed the facility, asking questions, taking notes, and examining every corner of the operation. Workers were interviewed one by one, their answers recorded meticulously. Amidst all the chaos, Ethan and Lisa stayed close, supporting each other while waiting for the truth to come out. Ryan, however, was furious. He paced back and forth near the restricted area, glaring at anyone who dared to approach him. When he spotted Ethan standing nearby, his anger boiled over. What did you do? Ryan demanded, stepping closer with clenched fists. This whole mess started because of you. Ethan kept his cool, meeting Ryan's gaze without flinching. I don't know what you're talking about, he said calmly. All I did was my job. Ryan snorted, clearly unconvinced. Your job? Don't play dumb with me. You've been poking around where you don't belong since day one. Before Ethan could respond, one of the corporate executives interrupted, calling Ryan over for questioning. With a final glare, Ryan stalked away, leaving Ethan shaken but determined. Whatever Ryan was hiding, it wouldn't stay hidden much longer. Later, that afternoon, Ethan and Lisa found themselves in a small office being questioned by two investigators. One was a stern-looking woman in a gray suit, while the other was a younger man with a notebook and a curious expression. Tell us everything you know, the woman said, her tone firm but not unkind. Start from the beginning. Lisa glanced at Ethan, who gave her a reassuring nod. Taking a deep breath, she began explaining how she had noticed irregularities in the inventory reports. Shipments arriving late at night, containers marked with strange labels, and Ryan's secretive behavior. She described how she and Ethan had worked together to document these findings, presenting the fake spill as a way to draw attention to the issue. When it was Ethan's turn to speak, he hesitated for a moment. This was the part where he would have to reveal his true identity, but not yet. Not until they had enough evidence to ensure justice would be served. "I joined the team recently," Ethan began, sticking to his cover story. "But it didn't take long to realize something wasn't right. I saw those unmarked containers in the restricted area and decided to look into it further. That's when Lisa and I started working together." The investigators listened intently, jotting down notes as Ethan and Lisa spoke. By the time they finished, the room was filled with an air of seriousness. The investigators exchanged a glance before thanking them for their cooperation. "We'll need to verify your claims," the woman said. "But if what you're saying is true, this is a very serious matter." As Ethan and Mia left the office, they felt a mix of relief and anxiety. They had done everything they could to expose the truth, but now they had to wait and see what would happen next. That evening, as the sun set behind the warehouse, Ethan approached Lisa. She was sitting on a bench outside, staring at the ground, with a distant look in her eyes. "Hey," Ethan said softly, sitting beside her. "You okay?" Lisa sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I don't know, we did the right thing, didn't we?" "Absolutely," Ethan replied firmly. "What Ryan was doing was dangerous, not just for us but for everyone. We stopped something bad from happening." Lisa nodded slowly, though doubt lingered between them. Finally, she spoke. "There's something else bothering me." "What is it?" Ethan asked. "You've been keeping something from me," Lisa said, turning to face him. "I can feel it. Who are you really?" "Nick?" Ethan froze, his heart pounding. He knew this moment would come eventually, but he hadn't expected it so soon. Taking a deep breath, he decided it was time to come clean. "You're right," he admitted. "My name isn't Nick Harper, it's Ethan Carter. I'm the CEO of Horizon Freight." Lisa stared at him, stunned. "You're what?" "I went undercover because I heard rumors about suspicious activity at this dock," Ethan explained. "I needed to see for myself what was going on. I never meant to deceive you. I just wanted to protect the company and its employees." For a long moment, Lisa said nothing. Her expression shifted from shock to hurt, then finally to understanding. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she asked quietly. "I wanted to," Ethan said, "but I couldn't risk blowing my cover, not until we had enough evidence to stop Ryan." Lisa nodded slowly, processing his words. "I get it, but it still hurts that you lied to me." "I know," Ethan said sincerely, "and I'm sorry. You've been amazing through all of this. I couldn't have done it without you." After a pause, Lisa managed a small smile. "Well, I guess I can forgive you for now. But don't think this means you're off the hook." Ethan chuckled, relieved that she wasn't holding a grudge. "Fair enough." The next morning brought a flurry of activity. Investigators returned to the loading dock, this time accompanied by law enforcement officers. They focused their attention on the restricted area, carefully examining the unmarked containers. As they opened one of the crates, a collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Inside were rows of sealed canisters, each labeled with hazardous material codes. Ryan, who had been watching from a distance, suddenly bolted toward the exit. 2 officers intercepted him before he could escape, handcuffing him as he struggled, and shouted protests. "This is ridiculous," Ryan yelled. "You don't understand, I was just following orders." "Following whose orders?" one of the officers asked sharply. Ryan fell silent, his face pale as he realized the gravity of his situation. He was led away, leaving behind a stunned group of workers. Corporate executives addressed the remaining staff, assuring them that the company would cooperate fully with the investigation. They praised Ethan and Lisa for their bravery, promising that measures would be taken to prevent such incidents in the future. As the dust settled, Ethan reflected on everything that had happened. He had gone undercover to uncover wrongdoing, but he had gained something unexpected along the way, a deeper appreciation for the people who kept the company running. And perhaps most importantly, he had earned Lisa's trust, even after revealing his true identity. Later that evening, as Ethan prepared to leave the loading dock for the last time, Lisa approached him with a warm smile. "So, Mr. CEO," she teased, "what's next for you?" Ethan grinned. "Back to the office, I suppose, but I'll never forget this place or the people here." Lisa nodded, extending her hand. "Thanks for trusting me, even if it took a while." Ethan shook her hand, feeling a sense of closure. "Thank you for helping me make things right." As he walked away, Ethan glanced back at the loading dock one last time. It had been a challenging journey, but it was also a reminder of the importance of integrity, teamwork, and courage. Little did he know, the lessons he learned there would shape his leadership and his life for years to come. The days following Ryan's arrest were a whirlwind of activity. Corporate headquarters buzzed with meetings, press releases, and internal investigations as Horizon Freight worked to address the fallout from the scandal. For Ethan Carter, the EO experience had been both exhausting and enlightening. He had uncovered corruption within his own company, but also discovered the strength and resilience of his employees. One morning, Ethan called a special meeting at the main office. The boardroom was filled with executives, legal advisors, and representatives from health and safety agencies. But Ethan wasn't alone. He had invited Lisa Morgan to join him. She sat quietly beside him, dressed in simple but professional clothes, her hands folded neatly on the table. It was clear she felt out of place among the suits and polished shoes, but Ethan wanted her voice to be heard. "Thank you all for coming," Ethan began, standing at the head of the table. His tone was calm but firm. What happened at the loading dock was unacceptable. Not only did it put lives at risk, but it also violated the trust our employees place in us every day. He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "Thanks to the courage and dedication of Lisa Morgan and others like her, we were able to expose the truth. Today, I want to talk about how we can prevent something like this from ever happening again." Lisa glanced up at Ethan, surprised by his acknowledgement. She hadn't expected to play such a prominent role in the discussion, but Ethan believed her perspective was crucial. After all, she had seen firsthand the challenges faced by workers on the ground. "Lisa," Ethan said, turning to her, "would you mind sharing your thoughts?" She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Clearing her throat, she spoke softly but clearly. "When I first started working at the loading dock, I thought it was just about getting the job done. But over time, I realized there were bigger issues. Things that made people feel unsafe or undervalued. Some of us tried to speak up, but no one listened. Or if they did, nothing changed." Her voice grew stronger as she continued. "I think what happened proves that we need better communication between management and workers. People should feel comfortable reporting problems without fear of retaliation. And supervisors need to be held accountable, not just for results, but for how they treat their teams." The room fell silent as Lisa finished speaking. Several executives exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement. Ethan smiled proudly at her, then turned back to the group. "She's absolutely right," he said. "From now on, we're implementing new policies to ensure transparency and accountability. Every facility will have an anonymous reporting system so employees can raise concerns safely. We'll also conduct regular audits to monitor operations and identify potential risks." One of the executives raised a hand. "What about training? Do you think current protocols are sufficient?" Ethan shook his head. "No, they're not. That's why we're partnering with industry experts to develop comprehensive safety programs. These will cover everything from handling hazardous materials to recognizing signs of unethical behavior. Training sessions will be mandatory for all staff starting immediately." Another executive chimed in. "And what about leadership? How do we make sure someone like Ryan doesn't slip through the cracks again?" "That's a great question," Ethan replied. "Going forward, promotions will require more than just performance metrics. We'll evaluate candidates based on their integrity, teamwork skills, and ability to foster a positive workplace culture. Background checks will also become standard procedure. As the meeting drew to a close, Ethan thanked everyone for their input and promised to keep them updated on progress. When the executives filed out of the room, Lisa remained seated, looking thoughtful. "You handled that really well," Ethan said, sitting down beside her. "I know it wasn't easy, but your insights are invaluable." "Thanks," Lisa said with a small smile. "It feels good to know someone actually cares about what we go through." "I care deeply," Ethan said earnestly. "This company is nothing without its people, and I'm committed to making sure everyone feels respected and supported." Over the next few weeks, Ethan threw himself into implementing the changes he had promised. He traveled to various facilities, meeting with employees and listening to their feedback. At each location, he emphasized the importance of open communication and mutual respect. Workers appreciated his efforts, though some remained skeptical, wondering if the changes would last. Back at headquarters, Lisa found herself taking on a new role. With Ethan's encouragement, she became a liaison between management and frontline workers. Her job was to gather input from employees and relay it to higher-ups, ensuring their voices were heard. It was a challenging position, but Lisa embraced it with enthusiasm. Meanwhile, news of the scandal spread beyond the company. Media outlets reported on the illegal chemical shipments and Ryan's arrest, sparking public outrage. While the negative publicity hurt Horizon Freight's reputation, Ethan saw it as an opportunity to rebuild trust, not just with customers, but with the community. To demonstrate the company's commitment to change, Ethan announced a series of initiatives aimed at giving back. Horizon Freight partnered with local charities to fund environmental cleanup projects and provide scholarships for children of employees. They also launched a campaign to educate the public about workplace safety and ethical business practices. Despite these efforts, Ethan knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Rebuilding trust took time, and there would always be skeptics. But he remained optimistic, drawing strength from the relationships he had formed during his undercover mission. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Ethan invited Lisa to join him for dinner at a quiet restaurant near the office. Over plates of pasta and glasses of wine, they reflected on everything that had happened. "I never imagined my life would turn out like this," Lisa admitted, laughing softly. "A few months ago, I was just trying to survive another shift. Now I'm helping shape company policy. And doing an amazing job," Ethan added. "You've earned every bit of recognition you're getting." Lisa smiled, though her expression turned serious after a moment. "Do you think we've really fixed things, or is this just the beginning?" "It's definitely the beginning," Ethan said honestly. "But we've laid a strong foundation. As long as we stay committed to doing the right thing, I believe we can create real change." They spent the rest of the evening talking about their hopes for the future, both for the company and themselves. By the time they left the restaurant, the city lights twinkled brightly against the night sky, casting a warm glow over the streets. As Ethan walked Lisa to her car, he stopped for a moment, looking up at the stars. "You know," he said, "this whole experience has taught me something important. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about listening, learning, and growing together." Lisa nodded, smiling. "Well, you're off to a pretty good start." Ethan chuckled, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. For the first time in a long time, he felt confident about the direction of his company and his life. Little did he know, the journey was far from over. New challenges awaited, but with people like Lisa by his side, Ethan knew they could face anything. Together, they had proven that even in the darkest moments, honesty and teamwork could light the way forward. Months had passed since the scandal at the loading dock, and Horizon Freight was slowly transforming into a better version of itself. The changes Ethan had promised were taking root, and the company's culture began to shift. Employees noticed the difference, not just in policies but in how they were treated. For the first time in years, people felt valued and respected. Ethan made it a priority to visit each facility regularly, not as a distant CEO, but as someone who genuinely cared about the people doing the work. He walked the floors, asked questions, and listened to concerns without judgment. His approach earned him respect, even from those who had once doubted his intentions. Lisa, now officially promoted to head supervisor at the loading dock, played a key role in bridging the gap between management and workers. She organized weekly meetings where employees could voice their opinions and suggest improvements. These sessions became a safe space for open dialogue, fostering trust and collaboration. One day, Ethan decided to hold a company-wide event to celebrate the progress they had made. It wasn't just about patting themselves on the back. It was about acknowledging the hard work and resilience of everyone involved. The event was held in a large conference hall, decorated with banners and photos showcasing the company's journey. As employees filed into the room, there was a buzz of excitement in the air. Many hadn't seen each other in months due to pandemic restrictions and remote work arrangements. The gathering felt like a reunion, filled with laughter and shared stories. When it was time to speak, Ethan stepped onto the stage, greeted by applause. He smiled warmly, scanning the crowd before addressing them. "Thank you all for being here today," he began. "This isn't just my moment. It's yours. Over the past few months, we've faced challenges that tested us in ways we never expected. But together, we've risen above them." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We exposed wrongdoing, implemented new policies, and rebuilt trust. None of this would have been possible without your courage and dedication. You are the heart of this company, and I'm honored to stand beside you." The room erupted in cheers, and Ethan gestured for Lisa to join him on stage. As she walked up, the applause grew louder. She looked slightly nervous but proud as she stood beside him. "This woman," Ethan said, placing a hand on her shoulder, "is a true leader. Without her bravery and integrity, we wouldn't be where we are today. Lisa, thank you for everything you've done and continue to do for this company." Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes as the crowd gave her a standing ovation. She took a deep breath and spoke briefly, thanking her colleagues for their support and emphasizing the importance of teamwork. After the speeches, Ethan unveiled a special tribute, a framed photo of the loading dock team, including Lisa and several other employees. Beneath the photo was an inscription, "Together we rise." It was a reminder of how far they had come and a promise to keep moving forward. Later that evening, Ethan and Lisa stayed behind to clean up. As they packed away materials, Ethan turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking," he said. "You've done incredible work here. Have you ever considered stepping into a higher role? Maybe something at corporate?" Lisa laughed softly, shaking her head. "Me? At corporate? I don't know if I'm ready for that." "You're more than ready," Ethan insisted. "You've proven yourself time and again. And besides, you'd still be working directly with me and the rest of the leadership team to make sure our values stay strong." Lisa thought about it for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I'll think about it, but only if you promise to keep listening to me, even when I tell you things you might not want to hear." Ethan grinned. "Deal." Over the next few weeks, Ethan worked closely with Lisa to transition her into a new position at headquarters. Her official title was Director of Employee Relations, but to most people, she was simply the person who gets things done. Together, they continued pushing for improvements, better training programs, stronger safety measures, and initiatives to support employee well-being. Outside of work, Ethan reflected on his own growth. Going undercover had taught him lessons he never expected. He learned the value of humility, the power of teamwork, and the importance of leading by example. Most importantly, he realized that success wasn't measured by profits or titles. It was measured by the impact you made on others' lives. One afternoon, as Ethan sat in his office reviewing reports, he glanced at the framed photo of the loading dock team. It reminded him of the journey he had taken, from blending in as Nick Harper to standing tall as Ethan Carter. Each face in the picture represented a story, a struggle, and ultimately, a triumph. Feeling nostalgic, Ethan picked up his phone and sent a message to Alex Grant, the FBI agent who had helped him during the investigation. They hadn't spoken much since the case closed, but Ethan wanted to express his gratitude. Hey, Alex, the message read. Just wanted to say thanks again for your help. Couldn't have done it without you. Alex replied almost immediately. Anytime, Ethan. Glad I could assist. How's life treating you these days? Ethan smiled as he typed his response. Better than ever. Learned a lot, grew a lot. Sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone to find what really matters. As he set his phone down, Ethan leaned back in his chair, feeling content. The road ahead wouldn't always be smooth, but he knew they were heading in the right direction. With people like Lisa by his side and a renewed sense of purpose guiding him, Ethan was ready to face whatever came next. Little did he know, new opportunities and challenges were already on the horizon. But for now, he allowed himself to enjoy the moment, grateful for the lessons learned and the bonds forged along the way. Together, they had uncovered darkness and brought light. And in doing so, they proved that even the smallest actions could lead to big change.